Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you're listening to. I'm here in this call with Daniel. Thank you very much, Daniel, for joining. Daniel from Cosmo Consult. But as you see on his back, there you see the logo of Cosmo Consult. But you also see Daniel is a. Thank you. Yes, indeed. But Daniel, I also see you're a true family man. But thank you very much for joining this podcast, this ISV, Business Central ISV podcast. I do know Cosmo Consult goes broader than Business Central, but I think your origins lie with Business Central. But let me not explain that about Cosmo Consult. Daniel, who is Daniel Schmid, and what about Cosmo Consult? What's your expertise? What's Cosmo Consult's expertise?
Okay, thanks for inviting me. Let's just say hello to all. In a short, who am I? What am I doing? What is Cosmo representing in the Dynamics market at Microsoft? Let's start with Cosmo. So we are an ISV, we are a system integrator, we are on many various workloads, more than 1,500 people, working mainly on Microsoft technologies. That means the business application areas, ERP, Business Central, Finance, Supply Chain, and CRM, customer service, field service marketing, on the Power Platform, on Azure, on Modern Workplace. So more or less each and every business app. As mentioned, we are an ISV and a system integrator. So as an ISV, we create apps, products, on mainly all workloads. As a system integrator, we use these apps, we reuse these apps in our projects. And we also need additional solutions. So now it comes into my role. I'm a chief portfolio officer responsible for the portfolio. That means I'm providing solutions for our internal teams, for our system integrating teams. And by providing means creating, developing own ones. We are also selling it as an ISV to other partners, but also being responsible for the portfolio of third-party solutions we resell from other ISVs because we need these solutions in our projects as well. It's a kind of make or buy decision somehow. There are good solutions already in place in the market, so that's also something I'm covering. But most of the time I spend managing the portfolio we are developing by our own. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that introduction, Daniel. I'm really impressed. You said 1,400 or even more than 1,400 people maybe working at Cosmo. I assume, and we'll talk about that definitely. This is not only your based Cosmo Consult is originally from Germany. You're not only active in Germany today, I believe. But before going there, which is more on the scalability part, so you mentioned Business Central, you mentioned the Dynamics Finance, CE with customer service, field service, Power Platform, you mentioned Azure, you mentioned Modern Workplace or Modern Work, which is the Office 365 suite. Now, I think historically, Cosmo started with Business Central, but what I would like to learn or understand is that going into other workloads like CRM, like finance, like Power Platform, especially today, I think it's a very hot topic, Power Platform. Can you share a bit more about that? Like, why did Cosmo decide to go into those venues? And what's the value that you are bringing to customers with providing that whole portfolio?
Okay. Yeah, of course. I can give you some insights in these topics. And you've already emphasized or mentioned it. Business Central by origin or by history was built with a proper application development cycle and application management tools. And to be clear on that, it was easy to protect apps on that technology, on Navision or BC. That also shaped the kind of behavior in this industry, in this market. So all the Business Central partners, all the Navision partners know what I mean. If you have built solutions and you're still doing this, looking at the app source of Microsoft, where are the guidelines, the requirements the highest if you want to install an app and a live system on the technology Business Central. You can't compare this to CRM, to finance and supply chain, formerly Accepta, to modern workplace, to all these other technologies. So there is a kind of gap in between protecting your solution, and that also defined the kind of how companies, how system integrators or ISVs behaved in that market. The potential for BC, for Navision, because it's out of Europe, a solution definitely was big for Cosmo to dive into, to build industry solutions, industry add-ons, and additional horizontal solutions. So when I'm talking about apps in BC, I'm talking about more than 50 applications, 50 apps with various complexity from, as mentioned, a small, tiny horizontal solution up to big, complex industry solutions. Now, you've asked why we decided to move to go into other areas. Well, we just realized by some projects that there is repeatable business in some industries, in some areas. So if we are talking about, for example, finance supply chain, we do have 2 industry solutions in place there as well for environmental, for print and packaging. But that's kind of niche and clear expertise, and we are delivering it, we are selling it. We're also managing these solutions worldwide, supporting partners. Because there is the need. There are not so many competitors in these areas, and that's business for us. If you go more into the CRM part, we do have apps, we do have products, and customers, same as partners, are slightly changing their way of thinking in terms of SaaS, in terms of repeatable, in terms of make or buy. But especially because of the technology CRM, and then I'm moving over to Power, because front end of CRM, sales and so on, customer service, field service is Power. Application management or application lifecycle management was not in that proper way, and that high maturity level we wanted to have it compared to Business Central. Now Microsoft is in place, makes it easier for us. We're building templates, we're building solutions, we are defining quick start templates to make it easier for customers to start. And these are solutions we are right now offering for CRM or for sales, customer service, field service. And not only there, we also do see some potential in Power Apps to build applications based on the Power platform of Microsoft. But to be clear on that as well, because we are more addressing the SMB or SMC segment, most of these customers, for many reasons, are interested in Power Apps by one reason, but somehow it may be easier to then build the functionality in a different technology. And the most used one, for example, if it comes in discussion with Business Central. So it was a kind of weird story to talk to customers. Get rid of your legacy systems, get rid of your IT, let's move everything, bring everything to the cloud. We do have monthly or semi-annual updates, and everything is managed by automations. But for apps, it's not that easy. So you have to take care of that by yourself. So there was a kind of, let's call it issue in application management, but we have covered this as well right now. So where are we right now? Huge bunch of solutions for Business Central. Industry solutions, industry add-ons, horizontal ones, industry solutions in finance supply chains, in niches and industries. We are able to resell it worldwide. Because of size of company, there is not so much potential only in Europe. Big potential right now for solutions in CRM. That means sales, customer service, field service, marketing, project operations. There we do have quick start templates to make it easier for customers to start, and additional industry solutions for special niches like the publishing segment, for example. And now we are moving more and more into the modern workplace, the Power Apps, the Power World, with sales additions, service additions, small tools, small tiny tools here and there. But I'm also still excited what happens with AI and Copilot. So let's see, more to come in the next time.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you mentioned Business Central, you mentioned Power Platform, you mentioned Rapid Start, although I think Rapid Start is more on the CRM side. But could you share a bit, Daniel, because I suppose that Cosmo Consult also went through some change how Business Central is implemented, how Business Central is well, installed, if I can use that word still, with customers. I think you're going from you mentioned you are an SI, but you're an ISV. And I think as an ISV, it's indeed about that repeatability. Mm-hmm. How do you make Business Central more repeatable, thanks to all the practices that you've built within Cosmo Consult? Can you share a bit about that?
Definitely I can. And that's a kind of evolution in the market and the industries. And I was quite amazed that especially in Europe, and normally if you're talking about Europe, also the German-speaking areas, which are normally more conservative, more waiting instead of moving or being ahead of. So we are more known as probably not the first, even the second follower than the first movers. But we do see there is a kind of mind change in the industry, in the business, at companies. So why or how do we recognize this? First of all, we have migrated our portfolio to SaaS by the early beginning. So as mentioned, 50 apps. It cost us a lot of effort, but we are up and running with all these solutions right now for years in the app stores on SaaS, and we focus only on SaaS. And there we do see a change. Customers are not interested that much anymore in customizations compared to the on-prem Navision world. We still do projects on-prem if we can't avoid it, but we are focusing on SaaS. And there we just see it's going down. It's decreasing the demand of individual customizations. On the other hand side, customers are expecting more speed in implementation time, higher maturity of apps, of products, less customizations as mentioned. So what we are doing right now in that area, we're reorganizing teams, but not only internally, also in terms of the ISV part or the ISV segment of Cosmo. We've decided to bring DC2Go solutions to the market. So starting with that is a self-service implementation, and we just tried it out. Is there a market? Is there a potential for customers to implement Business Central by demo? And yes, there is. We do have right now more than 90 customers implemented Business Central by themselves in a year. So that's impressive. But if you're looking on the size of these companies, it is addressing the small sized business, so 1 to 20 users. And we are still focusing on the project business as well. So how we can right now transfer from this experience, from the knowledge we do have right now on those really small sized business by self-implementing, by building also to-go solutions for our products, for industries. Let's talk about, I've mentioned BC2Go. What does it mean? Business Central to go. That means Business Central in a self-service experience. The customers will be guided by our digital consultant, by all the digital contents to implement it by themselves. Now this to go indicates something fast, easy, clear scope, fixed price. With this industry solutions to go, we are not talking about 100% fully self-service, but also addressing the rapid implementation to make it easier, to make it faster for companies. If they are in a special segment of an industry, we do have the kind of specifications. If they fit into that, we're not talking about any customizations anymore in an ideal world. These customers just can pick and choose an implementation methodology, a to-go industry solution. This is banked on our apps, but with the implementation approach, we implement in short term an industry solution for customers. So that's definitely an accelerator for some customers, not each and everyone. And to be clear on that, we just realized, okay, there are various businesses. There is a high volume, rapid implementation business, and there is still a project individual business. For both, we do have solutions in place. Most of the customers are using the solutions on the left as well as on the right-hand side, but with limited access or limited setup. But also the project business, we realize they are asking for more maturity in the products. So we are increasing the functionality in the solutions instead of building it customized for tenant extensions.
And that really, really great insight. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. What I'm hearing, I distilled two messages, two main messages. One, even for small, but also for large customers, time to market, time to value, especially time to value is increasing. That time needs to shorten, or as you say, self-service. It's almost, from a Cosmo perspective, it's direct time to value. But I'm also hearing, or indirectly hearing, that this time to market, this increased time to market, is potentially changing the culture within Cosmo, because your team, especially your development team, they need to start thinking differently on how they're building a solution, less SI, but indeed more ISV. And it's, of course, that's the goal of this call. But I can imagine that when developing your solutions, that there's much more focus on, again, that value, to be less focused on like, hey, this we will add in the future. No, it needs to be in the solution today. Any future upgrades need to be very smooth and quickly. So the role of the developer or consultant developer is also changing, or has been changing the last 5, 6, 7 years, I imagine, within Cosmo.
And not only the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's keep on changing. It's an ongoing change, so it's definitely something we are already in the middle. So as mentioned some minutes before, we are in this progress internally, out of the comfort zone, to modernize, transform Cosmo as a whole company, not only as an SI, especially also for ISV, to reduce these development cycles in terms of period, in terms of time, to increase maturity feature-wise on our solutions, to be closer to the market. And that will indicate in probably new roles. We recognize Microsoft is changing as well. We're talking about Business Central at the moment. Microsoft is also realizing the big solution of Business Central needs to be divided. They build foundation classes. They are updating some crucial elements of Business Central, and probably that lets us into thinking about new development roles. Is it a product developer and a product architect anymore? Do we need some more technical architects managing the integration of all these apps, managing the CI/CD, the continuous integration, the continuous development process, having the customer, the consultant in place, in mind as well, how easy it is to install, to set up, to test an application. What about demo data? What about integration with other solutions, not only coming from Cosmo, but third-party solutions from any other ISVs? So as mentioned, keep on changing. There probably will be more changes in the near future. So what we are preparing our teams internally is, it will not be one change now and then we are done. It is an ongoing change. It's a process we are in. And if you are looking back, how many times Microsoft has introduced something new, has changed something, pushing the partners, the SIs, as well as the ISVs out of their comfort zone to dedicate with some new technologies. It will happen in the near future as well. But we are prepared for that. And we do have good ideas, good solutions. And my personal interest is, if we can reduce it to just a scenario, if you are in a sales pitch, the customer does have his RFP, and with our teams, sales on pre-sales, we are out there in the presentation, the customer is asking for a feature. And we can look into our systems and say, look, this feature is already in planning, is already in development, or good point, let's take this back at home. We will come back to you. And before the customer signs, it is already in the product, in the solution. That's my dream where we are heading to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You again, you've mentioned several topics. I would love to go deeper into that. There's one
Feel free. Yeah.
There's one specific topic that you mentioned. How we're, as Microsoft, we're bringing lots of innovation from a foundational perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, from a functional perspective, not to mention Copilot or everything around generative AI.
Mm-hmm.
My next question is more around, well, you are, of course, a large organization. You can absorb this innovation or lots of innovation. But at the same time, you need to make decisions like, hey, this is where we're going to innovate. This is where we're not going to innovate. How do you make that decision? I'm not talking about next month, but like over a 12-month, 24-month period, where the main innovation will happen. Might it be rather on the foundation, architecture, on the Copilot, functional? How do you make that decision?
Well, that's a good point, and that's definitely something challenging for us. We are in the middle of changing our internal processes and teams and responsibilities on that point. To be clear, it is challenging for us as Cosmo as well. You've mentioned we are a big organization and we probably may manage it the better way than smaller companies, smaller ISVs or SIs. But nevertheless, with all the power, with all the speed, Microsoft just increased over the last 6 to 18 months or 2 years. We also realized, okay, we have to change something because we can't afford it. We can't really keep the pace of Microsoft. So let's think in reorganizing the application management process. So first of all, we will build more teams based on industries. So these industry teams are connected to customers, are connected to prospects, are connected to some industry representatives. And same, they are involved, they are highly connected, deeply connected with the industry solutions and industry add-ons. To be clear on what is the backlog for the next month to 6 to 12 months. Second, we also need kind of horizontal, or we have already set it up, horizontal responsibilities to have an eye on what are the changes Microsoft is introducing, what are the trends, beside the industry or customer needs, what are the technological needs we need to bring into our solutions, and last but not least, to build a kind of innovation board which decides what's in, what's out. We're thinking about building development seasons right now, so categorize somehow the let's call major technological shifts or major usability shifts or whatever. So we've had dedicated team working on Copilot, not only on PC, but for all workloads. We do have internal AI experts, an internal AI team, more in terms of research and development, large language models, all that. So definitely it is, as mentioned before, we will have new roles for development. It comes into place exactly on that point as well. We also need new roles for new technologies, but with a closer connection to the market, to the industries, to the project implementation teams in terms of product development and project development, and with a close relationship to Microsoft, to networks, and internal teams also connected to the project development and product development. We do think we are well prepared for that change. But yes, one thing still is open. You've mentioned Copilot. We are on the way. We are aware of it. We are automizing the most as we can, and that's probably the most interesting thing, how much we can automate, how much we can use AI We are already using it in the product management and the product development, but probably that's just the visible thing of an iceberg. We expect more to come in the next weeks and not only years. I'm more thinking in weeks and months. So that might be probably the biggest impact for us, how we can use AI agents you've mentioned before, or generative AI, also in product management and product development.
Super. Great, Daniel. Super insightful as well for me. I'm going back to the beginning of our conversation. You mentioned 1400-ish people at Cosmo, located, based in Germany, German-speaking region. But you're going beyond the German-speaking region. You're active worldwide. That brings also the challenge of scalability. Of course, there are marketplaces. You'll definitely talk about that as well. But also there, how do you scale and how you manage that scalability? Because you mentioned the innovation, but you need to bring that innovation to your partners. You need to make sure that they are aware of that innovation, that they can sell that innovation, that they can demo that innovation. You're building, just like Microsoft is building its channel partners. You are also building, I assume, your channel partners. Can you share your challenges there and how you overcome them?
Let me start with one point. You've mentioned mainly located in Germany. Well, we are mainly located in Europe, let's call it that way. So we are in Sweden, in France, in Spain, Hungary, Romania.
As Cosmo Consult.
As Cosmo Consult.
Okay, I didn't know that. Great.
We are in South America, Latin in 7 countries. We are in Asia. So half of definitely is Europe, and a big part is German-speaking area. But nevertheless, that helps me to answer to your question. So because of Spanish, French, English, first of all, in terms of scalability, our apps are translated in these languages, and these are mainly used all over the world. So that's a kind of requirement you do have to, not only having it in German or in English available, but also in other languages. And because of that, we also do have processes in place to easily translate each and every app in any other language, for example, where we are not at the moment. So in terms of scalability, we use our internal processes to also reach out to partners or to areas where we are not located, where we're not based, to localize it. But it's only the question of language, the translation of the application. Scalability, you've asked for, because we are not only, or as mentioned, we are located in so many countries, we already scale internally. So my customers, me as the portfolio representative of Cosmo, are our business units, our system integrating entities, but also the partners. But coming to our business units, well, they are implementing our solutions, and we already do have a kind of process in place how to scale by sharing, by introducing our own entities. So new to us, definitely new to us in terms of scalability. We managed the partner business opportunistic wise, more or less. So we had a kind of strategy, but because of lack of resource, lack of people in this area, because of the history, Cosmo was part of Tectura or does have relationships still. There are a lot of companies all over the world with a kind of Tectura history by any reason, employees or relationships, whatever. So we are known with our portfolio, with our solutions. They are asking for these apps. We are selling, or they are reselling our solutions. Is it really scaling at the moment? Yes, it is, because we put beside the opportunistic wise management of existing partners a new model, a new way of go-to-market, a new approach of reselling our solutions. So I've mentioned before the to-go solutions. I've mentioned our business units. So what do we all have in place? We have our own Cosmo marketplace for reselling apps,
Okay.
not only the Business Central apps or the app source ones. We do have a Cosmo College for training. We do have Cosmo Docs for having all the tutorials, the documentations in place. We definitely do have a product support. We are using AI for managing topics like ongoing product issues, topics like that. So we are highly responsive in short terms. We are helping partners as well as own entities to educate, to train themselves, to get 24/7 access to what you normally need if you're an implementation solution. And coming to the point, these to-go solutions, by creating more and more implementation guidelines, reducing the complexity of what could be done with our solution to this is the specification to implement it, for example, in the chemical industry. And we have t-shirt sizes like there's a chemical industry S and there's a chemical industry M. So depending of complexity, that also helps partner by using all the infrastructure like, okay, here is the Cosmo College, here are trainings especially for that topic. Here is the documentation. Here is the demo data, especially for that. We have a solution in place which is called Cosmo Alpaca to easily create an instance, an environment with these apps you need with demo data set up according to your requirements. So by using all these things, tools, contents, internally but also externally, we just recognized that's a way partners highly appreciate to work with us, with Cosmo. Having all these partner environment or partner infrastructure in place. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. You've mentioned the word app source once, although I know you are quite actively using app source. So can you share a bit your perspective on the value of app source for Cosmo?
Of course. And it's quite interesting probably to share these insights, these details as well to the community. Starting by Business Central, Microsoft put the trigger on app source because bringing any app to the live system, to the productive system of a customer in BC, you have to go through the app source, via the app source. So this definitely was a kind of push trigger for us to bring all these solutions we had on the vision or former BC solutions, we had to bring to the app source. Now, we have connected the app source to our sales, to our CRM, Microsoft CRM or Microsoft Sales. We automatically get leads if someone clicks on contact me, download, test, installation, whatever. So depending on the workload, there are different settings possible. Not everything is working the same way. For example, BC behaves a little bit different than CRM or finance, supply chain or power. But nevertheless, we just recognized the number of, let's call it contacts out of app source is permanently increasing. We're not talking about leads by week or by month. We are talking about leads by day. So daily we receive downloads by the app source. So that definitely is a really important tool offered by Microsoft for us to be visible. But to be clear, mostly used on Business Central because every partner, every reseller, every system integrator has to go via the app source to implement, to install new apps. But an interesting thing, what I would like to share as well, what we just made analysis out of that. And not only because most of our apps are based on BC in numbers compared to CRM and other workloads. But what is interesting based on these numbers, more than the half of downloads are not initiated by a reseller, by a partner, by a Dynamics partner. But by whom? Well, by customers, by end customers directly. So this indicates a changed customer behavior, and Microsoft is right now transactable. So that means a customer could purchase, could not only download and implement and install, but also purchase directly out of the app source. That's now possible. That definitely will also have an impact on the sales and reselling behaviors or figures. So it's a kind of new possibility for customers to buy. Is it tremendously increasing? No, it's not. But coming back to the fact I've mentioned, more than the half of the downloads are directly indicated by end customers. So they are bypassing their partners. They are directly reaching out to ISVs. That's definitely an impressive information. That's a change. And it probably will guide us into a new thinking, a mind change, how we can be attractive. And now I'm coming back. What do you need? If a customer is directly asking for purchasing it, they need setup guidance. They need probably demo data. They need 24/7 tutorial videos, documentation, and all of that. That puts you in a, let's call it, a new position, rethinking who are your customers and what they really need. AppSource is an interesting and an important solution, but only bringing your solutions to AppSource probably will not reach out. You have really to rethink about these new reselling channel.
Great feedback, Daniel. Thank you for that. Well, we're, I think, even over the 30 minutes. No worries about that, which is great. I think very, very good insights. And as we're approaching the end, my last question, Daniel, it not only from a Cosmo perspective, but in general, I think you know the Dynamics landscape or the Business Central landscape, the Business Central partner ecosystem. If there would be one suggestion to Microsoft that would help, of course, Cosmo Consult, but also other partners to more business, what would that suggestion be? What are your prime thoughts? Well, I'm asking you for one suggestion, but if you have two, of course, share your top two. But how can Microsoft help you to do more business?
Well, there are definitely a couple of things, and we are using some of these channels and possibilities already. But if it's coming to co-sell readiness, if it's coming to introducing industry solutions to customers, it definitely may help. If probably Microsoft does have these requests of potential customers as well, to more dive into the BC part. So they are doing it for CRM and finance supply chain. They do have, if your solution is on AppSource and does have this co-sell ready state, they introduce these solutions to customers or to potential customers, to prospects. I would love to have this even more used for BC, but knowing the organization of Microsoft is not addressed to this SMB segment, so there is not a one-by-one, so one customer by one representative by Microsoft, but managing that would be great. Sorry,
you're saying that because your Business Central solutions are industry focused.
Exactly.
So you're saying, like, hey, if Microsoft gets any requests from an industry in the SMB, maybe SMC space, to also say, like, hey, Cosmo Consult or other partners with Business Central practices can provide a great solution to solve your pain points, dear customer. That's what you're saying, right?
You're right. You're right. We do receive these kind of feedback for finance supply chain, for CRM, because their processes at Microsoft are in place.
It's different.
But only we're kind of suffering in BC, but we're managing by our own. And now coming more to a visionary idea. So how could Microsoft help us more in terms of the ISV business? Put yourself into the position, if you are a reseller or if you're a system integrator, if you are a customer even, and you're using Business Central, or you are trying to integrate Business Central, but you're not aware of this ecosystem of partners. It would be great if there were better search engine options using Copilot. So these are my requirements. This is my RFP. Just drop it to AppSource and it will come back with the answer. Probably these 5 industry solutions or these 5 apps will fit the best. That would be something visionary, but combining AI with the data, with the content, which is already there. Microsoft is kind of sitting on all this information because the AppSource does have it in place. I think that will probably accelerate the ISV sales and makes it easier for customers to find the appropriate solution for your business, for your requirements.
Yeah, I think that's a very smart suggestion, Daniel. And who knows? Maybe we're working on that. I really don't know. It's definitely a smart suggestion. I hope that the AppSource team will be listening to this podcast. But this brings us indeed to the last. This was the last question from the podcast. Again, thank you very much, Daniel, for joining this session. I've learned really a lot about Cosmo Consult. I didn't know, for instance, that you had indeed Cosmo Consults in several countries. I knew about the German-speaking part in Europe, but I didn't know about the other areas or regions. So great learning for me, also from an ISV perspective, from a scalability perspective. Thank you so much for joining this session. I'm sure we'll keep in contact, but wishing you a very good day and talk very soon. Thank you very much, Daniel. Bye-bye.
Likewise. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye, Ingmar.
Bye, Daniel. Bye-bye.
You're welcome.